Berlin.
So real quick, I'm gonna share a picture with social. So if you could, please smile for the camera. There you go. All right, I think I got it. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I will also make a photo. So let's make just social media, a little bit of social media. I'm, for example, right now I'm doing a story.
Okay. So should I change my background so it's a bit more entertaining, so that you're not just seeing a bubble machine in the background?
Yeah, please.
All right. So I did this for a previous session, but I'll do it for this one. I'm going to go full on Minecraft because my son's really into it. And since he's going to be basically in costume, I have his pickaxe here.
Oh, that's nice.
Which also converts into a sword. So there you go. But if I do it, look at what happens when I do the virtual background, just disappears. It goes into the Minecraft world.
That's so nice.
You can't see it anymore.
Fantastic. That's fantastic.
So literally I pull it out of the world and go, hey, wait a minute. I think I got something back here. Oh, look, hey.
That's funny. So I'm doing a story right now. And yeah, I'm also started with social media. So I'm just doing this without a hashtag because if not, I cannot talk anymore.
That's okay. I really like the Instagram stuff you're doing, by the way. I think that it's the more and more you do it and the more you practice with it, the better you're beginning at it, especially with your stories. I've been really liking them.
Yeah. So the next step will be to create more value. Right now, I'm still, let's say, that's also good. Make something with green in the background.
With green? Oh, I can do this. Sure. There's one. I think there's one at the ready. How about this one? There you go. Okay. I'm with the grass.
Okay, great. So maybe you have also beach?
Well, I got kind of that, but I actually have something. I have Bikini Bottom, so I have something of a beach, but it's underwater. I have Tatooine, which is the Star Wars desert planet, which doesn't have any water, so I'm kind of out of luck there. But in the meantime, I can kind of look for things that I can use.
Okay, so we keep in the normal space.
Yes, I think we're good.
So I cannot remember the question.
There was no question, and we knew we were eventually going to dive into this non sequitur.
Yeah. I think it was about the people coming to the events. So what I realized, so this is, let's say, in general, the situation. So a lot of tech people, more engineers, a lot of men, not so much women. And I love to support more the women in let's say in the design sprint space. So if there are some women, please call me if you need some help.
Speak up. We can't see. We don't know where you are. We need you to come.
Create awareness, yes. And but what I really realized with the meetups that it depends so much on the location and on the hosts, what kind of people are coming. So we already have some really nice hosts and good locations so that we have a good quality as really interested people and not only, let's say, design from the design space, UX design, whatever space people, but also from companies. And this I really enjoy to. Yeah, and also to talk to people, they are already doing a bit of design sprint. So they are from IBM, and so I'm a lot talking with Lee, who we are introducing each other, people from IBM. That's really funny. So yeah, so this has a huge value. I try to get people together so that we create more value, more shared knowledge, and so that other can really see what you can do with a design sprint.
Yeah, and well, that kind of leads me into my next question for you is, what do you think is the next evolutionary phase of the design sprint process, and what do you forecast might occur in 2020?
Okay, so I have two answers actually. So I start with the let's say the heart of that. What for me here, what happens? It's also something which Steph Cruchon already was talking about with the Design Sprint Quarter. He developed the Design Sprint Quarter, which is a good answer to let's say make it not more tangible, the design sprint, but more realizable. So more into that it's more better integrated into processes of companies. So when we are talking here also about bigger companies and corporates, so it's not only about making the design sprint and then hopping out, but they need a let's say a solution. And a solution is not only doing a design sprint, but it's also to provide help with implementing stuff. So it's just to having the knowledge, or referring to somebody else, or just having a process that works, because it's all about processes. So it's okay, maybe you know a developer and you could do that, but if you have a process, that gives a lot of trust for companies, so that they are sure when they start, they can also finish, or they can take the result of the design sprint and develop that, or work out something, if it's a process or something else. So that's why. So having projects with, for example, these AI sprints, you have other kind of executions. When you have, let's say, IT departments, it's different from if you have a startup, or if you have, let's say, more a process which you have to design. So I think what we are really looking for, and where we also work at, is finding solutions. Like, so I'm not the one who is doing a one-year project, but it's just not only telling them about the design sprint, but finding out what is the challenge and creating a solution where the design sprint is a part of. And whatever comes after that, it's about creating a solution, finding people, or explaining them how they can proceed. Because if they're doing this for the first time, they have no clue how to proceed on that.
Yeah, I'm with you in that. I think Steph is onto something with the sprint quarter. If you look at the official, like, Wikipedia definition of the design sprint, it essentially it has the 4 prongs where basically you can go from like idea, then learn, then develop, and I think it's execute or something of that nature. But it's 4 different things.
What are you talking about the quarter?
No. It's so if you, and I'm going to look it up just to make sure that I've got I know what I'm talking about, and I'm not just spouting nonsense in the morning, because sometimes I do. Basically, the design sprint by nature, it's time constrained. It's a 5-phase process that uses design thinking. So the thing I'm talking about is, and maybe I could share my screen just to kind of, now I'll do that. It's basically, you have four stages to it in terms of like where it could go. So you see learn at the bottom, then from your perspective, it's idea, then build, then launch, right? So the design sprint kind of plays in the mode of idea and learn, where you try to figure out if what you're thinking about doing, or that what you're endeavoring to do has market value, makes sense, has some resonance with customers or users. And the build and launch has always been something that's outside of that, where people who have done workshops like AJ and Smart have historically said, we don't get into the build process. We're just strictly into learning and ideas. And
so but that's totally right. I don't want to get into the building process, but I know what I hear and what I experience is that companies, they are looking for a solution, and not only. So the solution for some companies is not only having an idea, a tested prototype, or a tested, let's say, also prototype service, whatever, but it's also how can I proceed on that. So I'm also very much about learning, and I'm always digging deep when I want to find out something. So that's why I talk to people, and I found out that it's possible to that there are different solutions for softwares, or you can do, let's say, service stuff, process, business, whatever. You have different solutions where you can get help from, let's say, from your own department, or you can get help from others. So it's I think just a little bit, creating a little bit more value than only going in with the design sprint. But to make sure I'm not the one who is developing projects. I don't do execution work. So, but it's just providing them a solution is better than just telling them, okay, I will just give you the design sprint and we make the ideation and then the prototype. It's already fine, but I think either when you have the digital prototype, digital products, then the quarter from Steph is a very good solution. I also heard about others. They are doing maybe only 3 weeks after or execution phase, or yeah, there are also other companies that are doing much more. But yeah, so we are right now. I cannot explain you more about that because I'm not so familiar, and it's not already. Yeah, it's just some ongoing thing. But we are. Partnering up with a company, they are also very good in processes, and so I think this is a great thing when you already have kind of a tool set or people they are familiar with a certain process, and you help them creating, making the design sprint, and then it's let's say it's ongoing, it's a whole solution for a client. That's what I experience. So people are not coming and say, oh, I need an idea, please make a design sprint for me. But it's more getting in touch with them, listening, finding out what is the problem, and then maybe bring them together with other people. And so it's much more around the design sprint. So that's for me. So this is just a personal thing. So I think everybody has another approach to that. And I would say, so this is one thing I realized in the last year, I would say, because in the beginning I was also more about just making a design sprint. And the other thing was, I would say, when we were in Boulder and we saw all these wonderful people and wonderful sessions and really inspiring workshops. There is so much more behind the design sprint. This is where I see the design sprint next year and the following years, and where it gets where is the evolution of the design sprint, because it's not a trend. It's really a movement. It's a great framework where you can attach. So like we have. Let me think about. So what you do before the design sprint. This is something really. Crucial. So there are, for example, Design Sprint Academies, problem framing workshops, where I also attended one. So how you prep that, and there are different kinds of solutions. For example, also what I really love is the improvisation games. So I think this is also very important to get the people in the right mood.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of innovation that's happening outside the actual methodology. Like it's been around long enough so that people are starting to take the base understanding of it, just like AJ and Smart did, just like Design Sprint Academy did, and they're projecting out from their standpoint what would make sense to kind of optimize or add on to it to provide more value. They see a problem in the market, they're going to respond to it by doing something that's familiar to them. So Design Sprint Academy will do problem framing because it's been very effective for enterprise clients to really understand what they're investing their time and money in, because the larger the organization, the surer they need to be and the less risk they want to take on with a particular decision around product. Knowing that if they can get it right or get close to right in the very beginning, they're going to assume less risk down the road when it comes to development. And by the time they're pot committed with developing something, they know it's got market value. It could basically be something that people would buy, all of those clarifiers. I'm going to kind of go in a different tangent in that I think that the design sprint process is now at a stage where it feels like Design Sprint X, where it's not, the term sprint, I think, is going to, it'll have some resonance with people that don't understand it yet and want to grasp the nomenclature. But I kind of think that we're at a stage now where the methodology is matured enough so that it's going to start going in different directions. And we've seen this already in the wild. There's the Micah Copen's Voice Sprint. There's the Life Sprint by Rakesh Kasturi. There's the Talent Sprint that you and Jerome from are kind of venturing on and doing pilots right now actively in the past month, and with the Global Virtual Design Sprint. There's so many variations. I mean, this is just taking from what McKinsey had done with strategy in their particular sprint version, and everyone has their own flavor in terms of how they go about it. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5, whatever your whatever it kind of amounts to. It almost feels like the base sprint process is just basically something that would be in textbooks where you understand it as part of design thinking, but your interpretation and execution of that is going to be far different.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I think is going to happen is that when I brought up the design sprint diagram for a reason. We've been playing in the arena of the idea and learn kind of aspects of it, where we're really trying to vet out a particular solution, and both of us see a lot of value in it because we're highly vested in it. I think if you look at the other parts of this four kind of like baseball diamond kind of thing, where you have the space between idea and build and launch and learn, I would argue that outside of the design sprint process, there's something else that could go in either of those two bridges that would optimize those particular things. So let's take, for example, the space between build and launch, the top and the would be your right, I believe. Mm-hmm. That historically for the past, I don't know, decade or so, or even less than a decade, has been agile. It's been Scrum. It's been the idea that you're compartmentalizing a lot of your development cycles into small bits. Therefore, you can react differently to bugs, to situations, to market forces, to internal politics, and so on. The problem with agile I've always had is that basically it's just recasting some of the things in the waterfall process that we're kind of dragging it down, meaning you've just basically taken the huge stacks of documentation that you normally do with waterfall processes, and you've broken those up as well into epics, stories, tasks, and so on. It's just basically you have more meetings, more people talking about it. I think that people who are experimenting like Spotify and with 37 Signals, with the 6-week cycle, where it's talking about taking in an idea and building it out, but doing it from a more human-centric perspective, I think that has promise. But I think the natural evolution of how the design sprint kind of works with those particular aspects of build and of optimizing for growth and all of that, they're going to come from different sectors, but eventually there's going to be a coming together, so that you can take design sprint, 6-week cycle, growth hacking, all these different components, fit them together, and then you mix in work culture and the people behind it, and then you start talking about holistic, optimized processes for execution, some of which I believe companies are already doing, and that but just don't kind of showcase it. But that's where I think this is eventually headed in 2020. So it's going to be a conversation around how the build part of this entire thing afterwards. It's not just about the design sprint quarter. I think Steph Scott is head in the game in the right place with that. I'm going to talk to him on Thursday about it. But I think it's going to be more so that it's going to be, okay, yeah, I need you to prove to me that what we've just spent a week on is going to make sense. Beyond what we kind of projected out early on with problem framing, I need to show that it has market value. And I think that's where we're going to be headed.
Okay, I have 2 answers to that. Okay, first answer is I have a specific thinking about what is a design sprint, because you have totally right that there are a lot of different flavors, and that there are also a lot of different, let's say, approaches when you're talking about the 6-week, or there are also these company and enterprise design sprints. I think a very important is that you have a broad team, yet that you have a different perspective, that you are doing high fidelity prototype and you test it with the user. And there are a lot of, I would say, design thinking workshops and lean startup stuff and mixes around, which just misses a part. And so I think this is crucial, and it's also about really going in, making a fast step. It's not about the perfect solution, but it's really about having something tangible, something tested, and you have it fast. So I think that's a good process to have, to create an idea. You have already, it's enough time to do something right, but it's not too much time. So if you start with, okay, let's say maybe 6 weeks is a nice time to build something, let's say an MVP, okay, but it's too long just to create an idea, because when you have like 2 days or 3 days, the team in the room, this is all, I think this is something where we really can work with, but it's not too much. So I think that's something really important, and that it's a high fidelity prototype and not a, let's say, half an hour made prototype like you're doing in design thinking. I think that's also important.
Yeah, and I guess my answer is colored because of the nature of who I am. I'm just very execution driven constantly, in terms of like just wanting to go when I have enough data. So I know that I'm bringing a little bit of bias into that answer, but that's me. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, somehow.
Yeah. What I'm really interested with your situation is that you're positioning yourself as someone who's central to the conversation that's happening in Europe about design sprints. You know, there's like a handful of people in the European region that kind of lead the charge or lead the conversation about what's going on there, and you're definitely one of them. In fact, speaking of conversation, for those of you who have been listening and watching in Zoom and YouTube, now would be a pretty good time to start fielding and putting in some questions in the Q&A section of Zoom, as well as in the chat. You can also go on YouTube. We're streaming live there. You can basically put in all of your comments or questions there. I know Marty is there from the ladder. She's kind of hanging out over there. But do start putting in those questions, and we'll start getting to those in a second. But I would like to know from you, Sabrina, who are you watching in 2020? I have a handful of people that I'm keeping my eye on in terms of how their career arc is kind of going, and how they're making claiming their reputation in terms of making a name for themselves in the design sprint world, and like in design sprint methodology. Who are you kind of looking at as like somebody that you're really interested in following, and what kind of work they're doing?
Oh, let me frame it like this. There are some people, a handful of people, I would say, in whole Europe. So when we're talking about Europe, and I don't want to highlight some people, because I'm so sure I will forget someone. So yeah, that's because there are so many people. And what I see, that there are also women in Design Sprint. They are creating awareness, and they're really digging into that. So I'm very happy about that. And I think there is also a growing community of design sprinters in Europe. And I think, so that's why I also said to Kai at the Boulder, in Boulder at the conference, that it would be great also to have kind of a conference here in Europe, because there were such a lot of people I would love to talk to in Boulder, but they weren't just there, and it's a long travel. And so I think that would be great to really give that more impact. So also the Level Up group where I'm in from HN Smart, they are also really engaged design sprinters. They have, let's say, less or more awareness. So some of them are really just working the hell, and they are not doing a lot of videos or a lot of social media, and there are also other people. So we have really great people there, and also, let's say, outside of that. But I feel that there is a lot of energy coming out of that. So I think we will have a good community here, and also with women. So I have to emphasize on that.
Yeah, and when I usually dole out names, I do it because of my exposure to that individual and what they do. And I'm sure there's a handful of people, there's a lot of people in this space that are really doing great work. I mean, we've already mentioned them before. Some of them aren't even in this space, but they're just really interesting to follow, just because of the work that they do and how they get involved. I mean, we both know Sandy Lamb, so there's that. And there's Lisa Mo Wagner is another one that I like her writing style. I like the way she kind of like voices what she does. Trying to think of some other ones, but yeah, there's
it's like that. You will miss someone, so that's why I didn't want it to start with.
And they can message me after this is done and say, you know what, everything I've done, didn't say anything about me. You know, Frisso's probably thinking, you know, why hasn't he mentioned me? I've been doing all this stuff for the Design Sprint. No one mentions me at all. Dave Magdaleno.
Let me frame it in this way. I really love to get in contact with as much people as possible. They are interested in Design Sprint or they are already running Design Sprints. So I really want to know as much as possible, also to connect people or to maybe, so if you are together, you can make more. So if we make let's say events or meetups or whatever together, it's better than everyone is doing that alone. So that's my opinion.
And I will also add that one of the things I like doing, and this is part of why I'm doing the GVDS in general, is that I like being able to figure out what somebody's all about, what makes them tick, what drives them to what they do, and seeing if I can somehow help with that endeavor. Like if I can be a value add to what they're interested in.
You are crazy about that, I know.
I won't go down that path because, you know, I'll be like, but yeah, I'm not.
Yeah. So it's like you are fluent in all the social media languages. You're like everywhere. Maybe you have.
Yeah, you have almost. Although I would want to be on TikTok more if I could. They need to get they need to get a platform out there. So
we should make a Design Sprint TikTok hashtag.
Well, what we should do, because in TikTok, there's a really interesting thing where you can do duets. So somebody can make a video and then someone else can respond, and then you're basically on panels. So it can be one of those things where one person says, okay, well, I've got this particular point of view, or I've got this question, and then somebody else can answer on the other side, and then it becomes its own TikTok. And that's the kind of thing where if it starts to take hold, and you're kind of in a Q&A mode, or you can then reach out to a community virtually, and they ask you specific questions, then you can take, you know, a minute, like the minute mark, to basically respond. That's one way of doing it, but it just hasn't hit there yet.
We could do a GVDS TikTok hashtag challenge.
We could. We just had to make time for it after this whole thing is set down. So
okay, all
right. So we got our questions in. There's one particular person that's asking several questions. It's Kim McCartan out of Chicago, Illinois. She's a multimedia designer, writer, Design Sprint facilitator for 7733.
Kim is asking a lot of questions.
Yep, but she's if you're the first in line at the bazaar or at the farmer's market, you're going to grab all the good stuff. So more power to her. So one of the questions she asks is, do clients find you, or are you actively reaching out to specific clients?
We are reaching actively out to clients. So we are doing meetups, we are doing events, workshops for companies, we are doing LDJs for companies, we are going to conferences. I would like to speak so I try to speak as much as possible about design sprints on whatever possibilities. I also would like to speak at more conferences. So if someone in Europe has an idea, please let me know. And so that's how we meet people. We are going or we are hosting them. So this is how we get to know to potential clients.
Got it. She also had a follow-up question where she asks, what specifics get covered in an AI-focused sprint or a voice sprint? She was looking for some details of a project like that.
Okay. So so there are different things. So AI, you get covered. So in sense of topic, you can either make AI design sprint, let's say, from an opportunity space. So when you look more, let's say, from a management level, from a C-level to the company, where are good opportunities to put in AI to improve certain, let's say, departments, certain processes with AI. But this is more high level. This is an opportunity, let's say, opportunity sprint. Then you have either a process improvement, process automation, or you have either product improvement or new products. And then you have also chatbots, but chatbots, it's something else. So these are the, I would say, the topics, and you can make this in any branch, in any area, in any company, because there are always possibilities to improve something with AI. Yeah, but it must be, yeah, sure, bigger companies. So we won't do that here for our small agency. And voice is, for example, for household devices, for, let's say, in the car, when you have like service automation conversations, or also when you have like call centers and you have specific, let's say, always returning questions, so you can automate that. There you can also use voice design sprint. Okay.
That's
but
good.
we didn't do the voice yet, so it's just what I talked with Mike. So this is just secondhand information.
Yeah, and I've been a big proponent of what Mike has done or doing, and I think it's we're at the very early stages of it. I'm really thrilled to see where she goes with it. So yeah, if there's ever like a demo or anything else, I'm going to be right there for it.
So we have workshops with companies when she's here. We have a big, I hope it will be big, meetup in Stuttgart, and we will also have in Berlin. I organized something in Berlin where we meet companies that are interested in voice design sprint.
I get the feeling that there's going to be some company in the next 6 months that's going to reach out to her about bringing her on board. I just get this feeling about it. It's, if she stays independent, fantastic, but it just feels like with where she's going with this and the kind of conversation she's having about it, it's not fully baked. Like, it's pretty good, but yeah, there's somebody that's going to take notice and go, let's have a meaningful conversation. So either way, I'm all pro Micah Coppens around what she's doing. Digital Nomad Alex is his name, and he says, where are design sprints heading besides going virtual? What is the next big thing regarding design sprints? Did we cover this in a previous conversation?
I can elaborate that even more. Okay, so what I think what's really important is that, so right now we help, so we are an external, we are an agency, and we are doing design sprints. We provide that for clients. What I see is that that the companies are not only interested to have like 1 or 2 design sprints to innovate, but the process provides so much power and so much, I would say, improvement for also the whole company, for processes, for our services. So they are highly motivated and highly interested to integrate the design sprint process, like Lego did, like Home Depot did. So I feel that there's an interest in using also the design sprint process when they understand it better. So the framework, they see it also as a tool to improve their and to, let's say, to realize also their digital transformation, or their transformation in general to Industry 4.0, or for the new work, however you frame that. But it's just to improve, to have a tool, because we will never, it's now not that we have like a status and we have to go to this status. So we have this transformation and we have to hop on that. So it's not about that, but it's about finding way a framework, a process where we can steadily, regularly improve and follow up whatever comes, whatever the market brings to us, whatever technology brings us, because we don't have a status. Okay, there is we have to go, but it's like fluent. So we need a framework where we are agile, but also not too agile that it's like spread and it's like weird and chaotic. But I think the design sprint process and framework can really help with that. And this is what I see what will come. But this is not 2020. This is maybe 2025.
Well, I'm going to make a projection for 2022. How about that? I'm going to put as many twos.
Okay, let's do that for 2022. Okay.
Yes.
Also the same. And I would say more of these special design sprints like AI, like voice, like talent sprint, like the virtual stuff, and then comes my Lego design sprint. I had a conversation also this morning about that with Fabrizio. And I think that Lego can add, because this is more the emotional level. You're collaborating on another level. So this brings something in, can bring some spirit into the design sprint.
You replace with Lego Serious Play. You replace the storyboard process.
It's not so simple.
I'm just saying it's like a possibility for it.
There are a lot of possibilities.
Yeah.
It's just you don't have to make it bigger, the whole thing. You have to make it more human, more result focused, more whatever, so that you get a better result with the team. So maybe I think there are different possibilities to put in the Lego, but it's not like, okay, I'm doing now a little bit of Lego here and a little bit of Lego there. It must be really thoughtful and implemented. But I think there's a good chance to use that.
So here's what I think is going to happen in 2021. How about that?
Okay, tell me.
So this is the design sprint process right now. It's basically a diamond pickaxe that you normally use in Minecraft to discover things, figure out where things are, and so on. I think that there is going to be a complement to the design sprint process where it is a transformation. So now the design sprint process will get you to a point where you're learning something and figuring out what you need to know. I think there's going to be a polar opposite to it, where you are now going to test whether or not somebody will buy it in the market. So you are literally taking 5 days or whatever the process is to build out a prototype and see if somebody will purchase it. And you have the opposite of what you did with the build and the discovery, where there was more design, research, dev centric, advisory centric kind of people. Now you have sales, strategy, marketing, people are in the business of selling, people in the business of knowing their clients. And you dwell in that space, because then you actually strike at the heart of market value, of market impact, of whether or not what you're making something will buy, even if it is unfinished, even if it doesn't have good user experience. It literally is something where if the customer sees it and experiences it at such a rudimentary level and a basic level and says, I like it, but I need X, Y, and Z, you have the beginnings of something that cascades down into the company around purpose and kind of getting something that has traction with the customer rather than having a conversation in a taxi with them or something you overheard at a conference. You literally have evidence to suggest that somebody has put money down for what you are creating that started in a design sprint, but now you're actually making it to market and seeing if it's going to have any short-term impact, and then you can ideate and optimize from there. That's what I think.
I add something to that. I think from the quarter from Steph, there is this jury day, which I really like.
Mm-hmm.
You have you have the design sprint. You have a small break. You did business model canvas. It's about, okay, you have the user have spoken, has validated, or has given you feedback. Maybe so implement the feedback. The feedback is, let's say, it's okay to follow this road. But still, you have to think about, is this something which makes sense for the company?
Mm-hmm.
So you have the company team in the design sprint, but so what should be the right situation? You don't know at the beginning what will be the result. So you don't know at the beginning. So maybe you have a challenge, but you don't know what will be the result. So, and then you go and you have a result. And then everybody is like, when the user likes the product or gives a good feedback, or you implement the bad feedback, I guess usually it's like that. You love the product. You want to implement that. But still, maybe it's different from the beginning, let's say from the challenge framing. You have maybe another result, and you have to think about, as company, does this really make sense before you just start? So I really like this thought about having another view on the product, on the project.
Yeah, I think Abel Manangas was the person that introduced me to. It was a video about someone where it was exactly that. It was literally just making small, they had this student group that did small experimentations on something where they were optimizing something in the cafeteria around purchasing something that they had created. So they were learning about marketing and products placement and those things that normally go into how people buy things. But he used that as a validation device to say, well, if people really want to purchase it and put their money down for it, then what they're really doing is they're telling you, yeah, they're curious, or they want to know, experience it, or they believe that there's something there. So I just projected that out in terms of like, well, if you have a vetted out idea that has like 60 to 80% of people in the testing phase that say it's really good, but it needs some optimization, you could say it's ready for prime time if you could see a flight path to getting it in front of people to test. But you know, it's just a possibility. By the way, oh, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but really quick, there was one question about getting a design sprint conference together in Europe. From what you're aware of, do you know if there's a design sprint conference already exists right now in Europe, or would Eindhoven be a good place for it, or Stuttgart? I mean, where do you potentially?
That's the question. You asked me if there's already a conference in Europe.
Yeah.
No, there is no. No, that we need one.
We do, Sabrina.
We do. Yes. So
I wonder who could actually make that happen. Somebody I know could potentially round up a lot of people in Europe and get a conference together. Who would be good at that? I don't know.
Please ask Steph. He's the one who organized, who is the perfect organizer. He made such an amazing event in the Swiss Alps. It was crazy. Okay, we were not so many people, but it was crazy.
But wait, hang on. I gotta interrupt again. But if you combine his knack for finding the most amazing places and your natural ability to bring people together, could you potentially join forces to make something happen that had the style that Steph has, but also the community support that you usually bring to the table?
Let's see. You can ask him.
All right, I'll through this conversation, I'll pitch it to him to see what he says.
We can also invite a lot of people here, so we don't have a lot of expenses when we are doing this here. We could start trying something out.
Yeah, you can experiment, see where it goes.
You come?
Let's see. Okay. We're going back to. Oh, go ahead. Go for it.
Virtually, you can come virtually.
Just put me on a phone and just strap me to like a GoPro or something, and just there you go.
Okay. Okay. So we have 2 more questions, and I have one question from Fatima from the Slack. So it's Meetup.
Got it. Go for it. We can do Fatima's one. Go ahead and answer that one.
Okay. So Fatima wants to know how to something about meetups. I guess that she wants to prepare and organize meetups. So I just will answer on regarding that. So actually, I made a overview in different groups, a Google spreadsheet where I explain, where I put in some text, but you can also look at other meetup groups. So make a meetup group. It costs some money, and we don't know if this will be free for people they want to join. So you can also look for other stuff. LinkedIn will soon start with events. We will see, but until now, Meetup is the place to be. Then you just, it would be great to have a host, but in the beginning, it's possible that you cannot get a host because he doesn't know what you are about or what's Design Sprint. So maybe you have to look for a place like maybe Startup Place with startups, something, find out. And then you just invite the people, you prepare some slides or ask in the community, you will get some, and tell the people something about Design Sprint and make it tangible. So make a workshop. That's important. Make an LDJ, a short LDJ exercise, or make something where you make them experience what it's about to work with the principles of the Design Sprint. Yeah, and then keep in touch with the people, and yeah, I could tell even many more, much more, but yeah, that's the basics because we don't have that much time left. And Kim has 2 other questions.
We also have one from Frank Ocha. I'm going to slaughter this name. Franklin Ochoa. And if I get it right, I believe, and he can verify this, and I think he's from Kenya, I think. Just maybe doing a cross-reference on that name, but Ochoa, you'll have to verify that in the chat. But we have those, we have those 3 questions. So okay. His question was, how does one move from design thinking to design sprints, particularly for hardware products?
Oh, particularly for hardware products. So we have an expertise in hardware products. But we didn't do design sprints, design thinking. Design thinking. I'm not a design thinker. I'm a designer and started with design sprints. So I would say reading the book, doing the online masterclass of 18 Smart, doing another online masterclass, doing a boot camp, or just read the book, and then it's just so follow the process. And then when you're doing the storyboard is different. So when you have, for example, show your sword. So when you have something, a real product, you have to think about what is the crucial part, the crucial piece, functionality, look, whatever, at this hardware product, and make the prototype like that you get this question, the crucial question, answered. So either there's one thing that works and the other is just facade, or you can also describe it. You can build different kinds of product. You can also make a marketing page, something. But we did that, and it's better to make, when it's about functionality, to build to take something which really exists and make more facade thing. So
got it. The 2 questions that we were talking about with Kim: how does Sabrina follow up with clients after the sprint week? Do you do iteration sprints? Do you help them with implementation? What's that like?
Okay, so I follow up the road of 18 Smart. I try at the beginning to sell the design sprint with the iteration week. So I try it, but it's not always working. So yeah, that's and the follow up is I try to keep in contact, and let's say, like, I learned a lot. So I try to implement also to have people, not like a team, but to find solution for the client, how they can implement whatever is ideal, whatever the concept will be, to give them support in, let's say, I think about, or I give them contacts, I set them in contact with other companies, people.
Okay. And finally, the last question is here is like, do you stream any of your sprints? Is there any way to see some of the talent sprints or meetup activities to see some of your process? I believe you have done one. I was part of that. We were trying to do it over Facebook, I believe. It was one of the meetups that you did with Jerome, correct? Or am I mistaken?
Yeah, but it wasn't streamed. So we just did that. The pilots we just did. We didn't stream that, but I think it's possible that we will stream if there's interest. So we want to try out stuff. So we tried different exercises. We tried different kinds of running the exercises. And now during the GVDS, Sandy will facilitate, I think it's 1 or 2 design sprints where we will also observe. So I'm in the GVDS, I'm more observer. I'm taking part a bit, but I'm more in different groups. And I also try to pitch my Kampala challenge tomorrow evening. So maybe
The challenge that does not die. That thing is like, all right, we're doing Kampala.
To be honest, I feel very, very responsible for that because there are real people there and I know them. So I feel responsible. They want to start doing something. So, yeah. But yes, there we can, I don't know if there's any streaming of these sessions. I'm not sure. It also depends on the people and.
Yeah, well, there's disposition of others. I mean, Sandy Lamb streamed an iteration sprint back in April, so it can be done. I think it's just a matter of whether or not people are comfortable with the idea of putting it up on YouTube. Yeah.
So it's like in a talent sprint, it's not like you're only doing design sprint, but it's also more about present yourself in a way that people they are working with you get to know you better. And usually in the design sprint, you have more the note together, working together and alone. That means you are very quiet and you are doing your votes when you're doing these remotely. You are doing the votes anonymous, and so it's. For example, there we also ask people to explain why they voted on this or that or why they did whatever concept. It's about presenting your thinking, your thoughts, your way of working, and your skills. Yes. So I don't know if we can stream that because it's also kind of a little bit personal, you know. So maybe we can stream once, but you can, Kim, you can take part in one if you like.
Yeah. Yes, you can. You definitely can. So before we end things, Sabrina, why don't we tell everyone where they can find you and what kinds of things you're coming up or that you're going to be doing in the near future? I can go ahead and plug a few things. You are on LinkedIn as Sabrina Goerlich. You are also, your website is Designsprintstudio.com. Your Twitter handle is basically your first name, last name, Sabrina Goerlich again. Your Instagram is, well, how about that? It's your first name, last name again. It's on Instagram.
Yeah, Design Sprint Studio. I'm more on Design Sprint Studio in Instagram, so I have both. But I'm doing most, so everything Design Sprint related, I'm doing with Design Sprint Studio.
Got it. Okay. And what should people be aware of when it comes to things that are coming up for you or upcoming activities, things that people can follow you on?
Okay, I'm hosting also the Facebook group Design Sprint Germany. I'm not very active there because there are so many other channels, but we have this group and I really want to develop the group further. We have a community here in Stuttgart where we really want to support each other. We are doing regular meetups. We are also doing training, so boot camps. Next month, we are doing the next boot camp, the 18th and 19th of November. So we are doing this in German language because a lot of German want to learn how to do run the design sprint, and we do a 2-day training. And it's obvious, I think, when you really want to dig deep and to find out why this is not working or why this feels strange, it's better to speak in your mother language.
I can agree. In fact, Yeah, I try to encourage people to kind of to start with their native tongue, especially when teaching the design sprint process, so that when you have to eventually go into another language like English or Spanish or German or what have you, then you can basically bridge it in a way where you can fall back on your native language.
I would also do this in English or Italian.
Yes.
È possibile.
Yes. Of which I haven't relied on you for French when I was in Paris because I just didn't know anything. I did not do my Duolingo lessons before I left overseas, which I should have done. So all the same, it was wonderful being out there with you. It was one of those things that if I didn't have you with me, I would be like, you know, hello, hi, how are you? Where do I go? It would be just, it wouldn't have been the same experience. But anyway, Sabrina, thank you very much for being with me this morning. And I think it's your evening over there. Again,
afternoon.
You can
late afternoon.
Yeah, do a quick search on Google for Design Sprint Studio or Sabrina Goerlich. You're pretty much going to find everything that she's up to. She's going to be in the Global Virtual Design Sprint as well, so you'll be seeing some stories coming from her from that. Thanks to everyone who is watching and interacting on YouTube, as well as the participants that were on Zoom. I really appreciate you coming by and taking a watch. And beyond that, Sabrina, you know,
I have one last thing.
All right, go.
I will do a webinar next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Berlin time.
And what, pray tell, will that webinar be about?
I want to explain people what is the design sprint in a short term, and then what they can expect from the bootcamp, because I think a lot of people, they just don't know what it's about. And then I'm open for questions. So
is this
on the questions, I will answer some. I will talk about that.
So can people sign up for this now, or are you just announcing it? And
yes,
then
I made a post this morning. So
if you go on LinkedIn or Instagram, you can see it there, correct?
Yes, yes.
All the more reason for you to look up Sabrina after you get done watching us.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Exactly.
How very smart of you, Sabrina.
Pardon me?
I said, how very smart of you. That was very apropos. It's very good.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sabrina. You have yourself a good week. And thanks, everybody. Group Wave.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.